Next, I'm moving on to the Mumuya, and they are located north of the Chamba, which is the group I was talking about in the last video. So here is one of their pieces of sculptures carved from wood, and it's a typical Mumuya sculpture. It's very abstracted, as you can see. It has on its head helmet mask, and it is a double crusted helmet mask, and then it has these angular extensions coming down the side. The other thing I want you to notice is the belly button, how the belly button is so protruding, and we will see this in many examples of African sculpture, and this is because they believe that the belly button is symbolic of the beginning of life, because when you are in the womb and you're a fetus, you're getting the nutrients from your mother through the umbilical cord that's attached to your belly button. So this is, again, what they believe is the beginning of life. So you'll see that protruding belly button a lot. Mumuya figures are highly abstracted, perhaps in part because they evoke forms of human and supernatural authority. So it's not supposed to represent a person. It's supposed to like be this very specific idea of the supernatural, the spiritual world. And the Mumuya have a form of masquerade that I'm showing you called the Vabo. And this masquerade is actually used for punishment. So in the Chamba, when we were briefly talking about masquerade, that was more for like communing with the afterlife and this kind of thing. But with the Mumuya, we have the masquerades are not concerned with illness or a specific individual. Rather, they deal with justice and supernatural cleansing within the community. So as I said, the masquerade here that I'm showing you is a way of like kind of keeping order within the society. You have this male figure here who's shown in this full, and in here you see these male figures who are shown completely covered in raffia, and they're taking on this spirit that comes out to punish those who have done something wrong in society. So maybe they, stole something or whatever. They're going to be humiliated in society. If they do something really atrocious, like they've killed somebody, then through the masquerade, they're going to be banished and chased out of the society and not be allowed to return. There is a female counterpart to this masquerade, and she is the wife, and she, her role is to be this kind of humorous, maybe make everything a little bit lighter, but she also is going to, like tease and taunt whoever the person is that has done something wrong. So again, it's a way of trying to keep order within the society. This next piece, also Mumuya, I'm showing you is, again, fairly abstracted, but we do have a face here. This is a female figure, and some things to point out. One, no arms are shown. She just has legs. She actually does have a protruding belly button again. She has the crested hairstyle of a female figure, very large eyes, and what might have been at one time a place that we would have seen a brass ring that would have been placed in her nose. And then within the Mumuya, they have rings that they wear in their noses, and then the other thing that they do is they take their earlobes and they enlarge their earlobes by putting discs in them, something that we actually see sometimes here in the United States now. So their earlobe gets very stretched. So that is what's being shown here, is that this woman has had her earlobes stretched. Now we're moving on from the Mamuya to the Mambilla. And the Mambilla religious practice have been particularly affected by Christianity. However, Islam has been the most widespread religion in the area over the past 4 centuries. And when we look at this again, it's carved out of wood. It has extremely large kind of discs for the eyes. The mouth is slightly open, and it does look as though it is almost praying, like, like this with its hands, still very abstracted. The head is rather large and the legs are very short, but there's, again, very typical of the way figures are shown in African art. This is the back of a tunic, and what I'm showing you here is divided into squares or rectangular patterns. The central pattern is crisscrossed by diagonal bands, while the surrounding sections alternate geometric shapes, particularly circles and triangles with floral motifs or knots. Many of these patterns of North Africa are taken from glass and metal work or pottery made in Islamic Egyptian culture. And this would be worn by somebody that is learned and knowledgeable about the Islamic religion. So next I'm showing you an example once again of architecture made out of mud. And I have a video here that explains this a little bit better and why this is such a great thing in North Africa. And it is quite sophisticated in how it has been used. For example, here we have the Friday Mosque of the old Hausa city of Zaire, which was designed during the first half of the 19th century. It has a square plan, a prayer hall that is capped with 6 domes, and it was once set within a square courtyard. And you can see this mud architecture really can become quite complex. And if we look at the inside of this, is really gorgeous. So what they've done is for the arches, they've taken pieces of wood and then plastered over these pieces of wood to give this kind of ribbed vaulting effect like this. And I don't know, I think it's really beautifully appealing, the designs that they're getting with the plaster on the inside. And you can see the sheer size of it by the people, that one person sitting and the other person standing. If we look at how this architecture is shown in like everyday kind of settings, this is a great example. And so as people acquire money and they're able to buy things, they kind of want to advertise that, wow, they're wealthy enough to have this or this or this. And they put it on the outside of their houses. And since this is mud, it has to be redone every year, every few years. And so they can kind of update it. And so if you look closely, in addition to some pretty beautiful patterns that they have, here they have a bicycle, they have a car. So they're advertising that they're wealthy enough that they not only have a bicycle, they also have a car. And it's a way of kind of advertising this. So this is, by the mid-century, we see this kind of relief were made with pictures and calligraphy that are representing, as I said, what the family might own. Here we have another tunic, and again, this is going to be worn by somebody who is religious figure and is learned, and so this is somebody who has studied the Quran and is able to recite the Quran, and this is considered a great robe. It's worn by a learned man. It may be embroidered with cotton or silk thread. The left side of this kind of garment is called 8 knives. because of the three long rectangular forms at one side of the opening for the head of the wearer. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are the 8 knives. And then there are other things that are represented here, like this square corresponds to the four corners of the world and other Quranic images of God's creation and power. The next thing I'm showing you, it's kind of like a chalkboard. Think of it in that way. So what students do is they bring this to school with them and they'll write down part of the Quran and they memorize it. And then once they have it memorized, they erase it and they write another part of the Quran. And they do this because the Muslims believe that the Quran contains the word of God as recited by his prophet Muhammad. So students use this to then memorize and be able to recite the Quran. And the idea is you're supposed to be able to recite the entire Quran. And when students are ready to graduate, they're given a test where they have to recite certain passages. And if they pass the test, then the final part of the Quran that they had memorized, they rewrite it with permanent ink. And then this serves as their diploma. You'll see this mosque is very different. It has a thatched roof, and the thatched roof goes all the way to the ground. And this man is standing in front of a very small doorway. The only way to enter the mosque is actually to be kneeling and enter that way. And the idea is that when you're kneeling and you enter the mosque, then you are already in the position to pray to God, to pray to Allah and to honor Allah. And next, I'm showing you a piece of fabric that has been woven, and it has 4 or 5 times the number of panels used on the average textiles. The color red is prominent, and each panel is richly ornamented with geometric motifs. These are woven by men, but owned by women. And so they are used as wedding blankets, and they show status within the society. So the last thing I want to do is I want to show you a contemporary artist, and I do have a video up you can watch about him, although I do not believe it's in English. It's subtitled. So this is Samuel Faso, and he was born in northern Cameroon and raised in southern Nigeria. And he, as an adult, then starts a photography studio, and he's taking pictures like old, before digital. He's taking pictures of people, and then there will always be like a little bit of film left on the roll. And so he decided to start using that instead of throwing it away and take pictures of himself. And then this led to him kind of evoking this idea of masquerade and dressing up in different characters and taking on different roles. So watch the video, even though I think it is subtitled, because you're going to see him dress up in different, well-known figures, Muhammad Ali and Mao Zedong and all of these different figures. And the Pope, and he says, like, there should be a black Pope. One day maybe we'll have a black Pope. And so this is what he is really known for. And I was very happy when I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art when they reopened the African section, and he is included as one of the contemporary artists in the African section of art in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So if you want to see more of his work, you can go see it in person if you're in New York.